Lame Yasho Sungi Yarajo Tore Tenge Zishi Yarajo Niso Dobe Nishi Yarajo Shomo Nyazala Gayo Dari Jona Chambun Swahari Gebana Nidena Shobena Robeche Kade Sawashe Todan Dorje Benso Rojo Loye Gebana Nidena Shobe Marpaloza Kade Sawashe Todan Dorje Benso Lame Yasho Sunge Yado Tore Tenge Zishi Yado Nison Dobe Nishi Yado Shomo Yansala Kayo Dare Jona Jola Sheba Yera Wana Nidena Shoba Milareche Kade Sawashe Toda Dorje Benso Lame Yasho Sungi Yarajo Tore Tege Zishi Yarajo Nyeso Dobe Nishi Yarajo Shomo Nyansala Gayo Dare Jona Shadala Pagi Gamboina Nidena Shobada Poye Haje Kade Sawashe Todan Doji Benso Lame Yasho Sungi Yadu Tore Tege Zishi Yadu Nyeso Dobe Nishi Yadu Shomo Nyansala Gayo Dare Jona Sheze Roja Demai Joma Nejai Gyawa Sechela Debe Bebe Droa Dendai Ge Jorde Tinze Zelai Jebai Shoi Geve De Joy Janjoy Sanje De Geve Kolai Rike Mingayo Tajai Senai Shindoi Jurde Doi Jarve Shedai Sheze Debe Tege Geve Lodoi Pege Nendewai Shindoi Pemoi Legende Tize Chedai Zelai Bonche Shoi Sheze Rojai Dewai Joi Nejai Nene Gewai Sechela Debe Bebe Droai Didai Ge Jorde Tize Zelai Jebai Shoi Geve De Joy Janjoy Sanje De Geve Kolai Jige Mingaya Tajai Senai Shindoi Jurde Doi Jarve Shedai Shaze Debe Gege Geve Lodoi Pege Ne Dewai Jindoi Bemoi Legede Tize Shedai Zelai Noje Shoi Shaze Rojai Demai Troi Bar Nejai Dine Gewai Sechela Debe Bebe Droai Didai Ge Jorde Tize Zelai Jebai Shoi Geve De Joy Janjoy Sanje De Geve Kolai Jige Mingaya Tajai Senai Shindoi Jurde Doi Jarve Shedai Shaze Debe Dege Jai Jai
We will begin with the opening prayers.
Amen.
Also, lade doch mal. Dann haben wir eine Single.
Now, can you all hear me? I would like to offer my greetings to the Sangha, the source of refuge, and particularly the nuns and the nunneries and the shedros. Likewise, all the lamas, spiritual friends, the tulkus, and also the Dharma friends gathered from east and west, as well as all of our friends and relatives in Tibet. I would like to offer you all my greetings. Today is the 10th day of the Audio Spring Teachings. If you talk about the spring teachings, I think that during this teaching, if I can go through the 21st of these of the good deeds, there's still only three more stanzas, and so we're coming to the end of our teaching. And then the verses from the 20th verses onward, I think I can teach about those next year. And next year, we will be able to complete the liberation story of MIKYÖ DORJE. Then after that, what should we teach? And so I think all of you should gather your opinions and compile them about what is good to continue the teachings, and I'll continue, and I will think about what I should teach. Anyways, today, I would like to speak with you about the 18th good deed from MIKYÖ DORJE's autograph biographical versus good deeds. So according to the commentary on good deeds by MIKYÖ DORJE's appendant and direct disciple, the Bhikshu Sangye Paldra, the place where we've come in terms of the structure, the outline of the text is that we're speaking about the method of meditation on relative bodhicitta. There are two parts, on meditation and post-meditation. And in terms of the post-meditation, there are 10 different subtopics. Among the 10 different subjects, we've gone to the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. We have already discussed all of those. So now where we've come to is discussing the 8th, taking things going well or badly as the path. That is the point we have come to. So taking things going well or badly as the path, the verse on this, or you could say the 18th good deed, is infinite other kinds of barbaric beings. When things go well, since things are going well, they're ignorant of the means for liberation. When things go badly, they're ignorant of the means for liberation. I could not bear the thought of their deluded acts. I think of this as one of my good deeds. Now, during the period of MIKYÖ DORJE's life, most time at that time really hadn't had much education. And they also didn't really know how to think about things. Their mind streams were really untamed. The characters, they're very harsh or rough characters. And so you really couldn't do much to change them. They're kind of incorrigible. That's the way most people were. And among them, there are some people who said people who upheld and protected and spread the teachings. So there are many who said that they were considered people that everyone who placed their hopes in. Even such people were given very lofty names, but actually, when things went well for them or the people in their groups, then when things were nice for them, there's like nothing that they would say, oh, I need this, and they wouldn't worry about the size of the monastery, but they spend all day and night working on these and deceiving themselves in this work. So they're completely distracted by all of this work. And then their characters become very intractable there because they're being very rigid. And when that happens, then there's like extremely difficult for them to mix their minds in the Dharma. Now, if things started going badly for them and for their group, when the situation was bad, they'd look for any and every way to fix things and restore what they had lost. And so they were just so distracted by another thought that there was in business that there's no way for them to give any thought to the means to achieve liberation, omniscience. And actually, there are very few people who actually knew correctly and without mistake the ways to achieve liberation and omniscience. And so when you're thinking about times when things are going excellently or going badly, but if they're regular people, there are people who have kind of a little bit of a free time in their daily lives. People would be just satisfied, maybe the pleasures of just food or drink or sleep or just a lolling about in laziness. And some people were kind of deceived by that, but there are extremely few who actually thought about practicing the Dharma. When I think about these, what do you say, degenerated ways of behavior, when you think about the people, the way people in a degenerate ad work, MIKYÖ DORJE was unable to bear it. So it's people like MIKYÖ DORJE who felt unbearable compassion for such people. Now, MIKYÖ DORJE himself, now, there are a lot of people who would come to see him, right? So when so many people came to see him, but he would always ask them questions. And the questions he'd ask was, "How old are you?" he'd ask. Asking, "What have you done in the last few months or few years?" And he'd ask him in a lot of detail. And when people then replied to him, then if he'd often had the thought that many people were just wasting their lives, when he heard such talk, the MIKYÖ DORJE got very worried about this and actually gave a lot of attention to this. And not only that, he would actually speak to them very, very directly. He'd say things that just really struck the point. I could give an example of what he'd say. He said, "Do you smell the scent of rot in your nose or mouth?" If you hear something that's like when something's rotting, you can smell it, right? And in your mouth and in your nose, and do you smell the scent of anything rotting? He'd ask them. And all these students said, "Oh, I don't smell anything rotting," they'd say. And MIKYÖ DORJE would say, "Oh, that's really amazing," he'd say. "Everything inside of you has rotted. Everything inside your chest is in your body has rotted, but you don't even smell it. It's really strange." And so these really pointed things. And the point of this is that it's the same as this everything inside you is rotted. Basically, the meaning here is you've wasted your entire life. The heart inside your chest has not been any use. It hasn't been of any use. Here, the brain in your head has not been any use. And it really direct and really pointed things to people. And there are also many people they'd always come to MIKYÖ DORJE and ask for teachings. And you could say that he gave them very strong advice. You could say it was he spoke very forcefully. And what he'd say to them is, you should think, in your lifetime, you only have a short human life, right? Within this life, there's many years and months years have gone by already. And so you're getting closer and closer to death. Likewise, this body that's made of the four elements, it used to be youthful, and now it is gradually you're getting old and bent. It's changing, isn't it? And the friends who are close to you haven't really helped you. Other than fooling you, they haven't helped you really. And other than this, you've only thought about this lifetime. You haven't thought about the future lifetimes. And you also have your negative friends. These friends and you've come under the control of these negative friends who don't bring you to the way of virtue. And now you've got all these temporary needs in your life, so there's all these. So you've been deceived by your temporary needs and temporary benefits. And even if you have a little bit of wealth, then you get really attached to it, and then it prevents you from doing anything to benefit other people. Even when you're practicing Dharma, you're unable to stand up. It's like you're controlled by the Maras if you've lost all your control to the Maras. Now, most of these Dharma practitioners and the largest the people who thought that even if they were a little bit skilled and they had larger activity, then they would be unable to take care of their monsters in place. It'd be like they were stuck in a quicksand and couldn't get their out. Even on the smaller scale, they're unable to really placate their sponsors, and they came under their sponsors' control. And so you had a little bit of merit, but now you're like losing it all. It's like you're destroying your own merit, he'd say. And so we'd say that people who do this may be called by the name renunciant or Dharma practitioner, but are they actually so? And so it is really pointed, these really pointed criticisms or pointed advice. This is what he said. And so next, I would like to, if we speak about the main points of this 18th good deed, there are three. And so there are three, can give three different points. And the first of these is, when you talk about practice, what is the way we need to understand it? How do we think? So there's a way of thinking that when you're practicing. You have to have a state of mind when you're practicing. So what should your state of mind be? And the second is what practicing Dharma really means. So when you're actually saying practicing Dharma, what do you really mean? When you're practicing, what does practicing Dharma properly mean? And the third is the best opportunities for practice when things are going well or going badly. That's that. So what the first is when you're saying we're going to do practice, what sort of understanding do you need to have of that? How should you understand it? How should you be thinking? What should your state of mind be? If you ask about that, it's really important that we understand this properly. So generally, for the last few days, we've been speaking in general about what a Dharma practice is. We've talked about that a bit. But still, there are probably quite a few people who think that when we say we're practicing Dharma, what they probably think about we mean is like reciting prayers as Dharma practice. And so when you say Dharma practitioners, you should you should understand as reciting prayers. Or you might understand practicing Dharma as doing pujas, or they might think that doing practices like reciting mantras. Or they might understand practicing Dharma as doing life releases. This does happen, right? When you talk about practicing the Dharma. So the idea that comes into our mind is like this is the image that comes to our mind when we think of practicing Dharma. And not only that, in particular, some people, when you say practicing Dharma, what they think it means is that there's some people you have to go into like your little shrine room. Like if your house, you have a little shrine room, or if you have a place where you've got like a little shrine or a little offering. Even if you don't have your own place, even if you have a little place where you put your statues and so forth, and then you think you have to sit in front of that, and then you have a little cushion in front, and then as long as you're sitting on there, what you're doing then, that alone is Dharma practice, they understand. This is what people think, right? Many people. For example, if you go into like a family's house, if you don't see the father, you don't see the child. You're asking the child, if you say, where's the father? Oh, my father's he's gone into the shrine room. He's practicing the Dharma, right? He's practicing them. So what is the practice that he's doing? See, because he's in the shrine room, then therefore he's doing Dharma practice. And so that's what they think. And so even children will think that, right? But actually, when thinking about it, what do we mean by practice? I mean, so like reciting prayers and reciting mantras, of course, is Dharma practice. But if you're understanding only that as doing Dharma practice, then that's not the right understanding. Practicing the Dharma is a deeper way of thinking. It's not just the image. It's not just merely sitting in a shrine room doesn't mean they're doing a Dharma practice. Just reciting prayers doesn't mean that you're practicing Dharma. Reciting practice is reciting prayers is of course Dharma practice, but just because you're reciting prayers does not mean that you're doing Dharma practice. Because while you're reciting the prayers, you can have any sort of thought inside of you. So if we only look at the external appearance and say, oh, they're doing Dharma practice, then that isn't really quite right. So whether they're practicing Dharma or not is like a more profound or a deeper meaning than just the mere image of sitting there practicing Dharma. And another thing what many people often think is that what they think that Dharma practice is something that has, and saying it's like something that's a really high level. It's like a really it's a really very high thing. And that if you have to go into, if you're going to do it, it has to be kind of like, it's like kind of like a job, like on the jobs or work that we do in society, it has to be like some sort of work that you're doing. And so they have to be really, really careful about doing Dharma practice. You have to really focus on it as you're doing. You have to be very, very careful when you're doing this. There are many people who think this. Likewise, and some other people also think that practicing Dharma is really boring. I don't have an interest in that. It's just too boring. There's nothing much of interest there, they say. So think of Dharma as being something boring and something that doesn't have a lot of spice to it. So basically, a lot of people don't understand that Dharma, when you say practicing Dharma, they think of something as really complicated and difficult. For example, you feel like you're reading some really complicated historical document. If you're actually reading history, it's really complicated, isn't it? And it's so difficult to kind of get any enthusiasm when you're looking at these. It's like kind of reading a list of what someone did every day. Extremely boring. And it's difficult to feel any enthusiasm for it. And so it sort of feels like there's people that when you're doing Dharma practice, it's kind of like reading this sort of like boring, complicated historical document. And now most of you probably haven't really studied mathematics, have you? Maybe if you went to school and if you had a math class, and you'd really have to work hard. You'd have to think a lot about this. It's extremely difficult. People see this as something that's extremely difficult, right? And so basically, when you say practice Dharma, you have to be very careful and work very hard, and you have to spend a lot of time, but you have to think really hard. This is the way people see it. And so for that reason, a lot of people just not much interested in practicing the Dharma. Oh, it's so difficult, complicated. I don't really understand what it's about. And you have to think so much. There are all these different visualizations. You have to focus on a visualization, meditate. You have to do all these different things. That's never going to work for me. And so when people you say, practice Dharma, this is the image that comes to their minds. Even if some people say, oh, I need to practice the Dharma, they think that you have to have, you're like kind of really comfortable, really nice. And if you're not, and if things aren't really going, so you can't practice. You have to like kind of a nice, even inside tissue. If it's too hot, then if it's like India, then you get really difficult. If I might get a headache, they say. If it gets too cold, then then they're just sneezing the whole time. And feel like they're unable to keep their bodies warm. And so you have to have like just a perfect, even temperature, moderate temperatures in the house. And if your mind is kind of relaxed, then probably you'll be able to practice the Dharma a little bit. But before you do the Dharma, you have to do a lot of work, right? Because before you practice, what you have to do is at first you have to go look at all your WeChat messages. You have to see who sent you something in WeChat. And you've got to take a look at Facebook. You have to read them all. And then once you've read all of them, then you see how many people, how many beeps you've had, and you've got to respond to all of the messages. And you have to have eaten all your meals. Your stomach has to be full, and you can't be too tired. And basically, after you've done everything that needs done, and you've got a little bit of free time, and then only then do you finally sit down on this cushion and try to do a little bit of Dharma practice, right? And say, it's like if they don't think they need to Dharma practice, they don't do it. But if they think I need to do it, they say that, but they only have this little tiny amount of time. They have so many things to do and so many jobs a little times. But actually, there's not a whole lot they need to do. But if there's not a lot, people aren't doing really all that much in their lives. But when it comes down to it, it's like they never have time to practice the Dharma. So when you talk about practicing the Dharma, when you practice the Dharma, what do we do? So Dharma is something like the rituals and all these practices and rituals. It's something where you have to kind of have this external expression, and so make some sort of put on some of an image. That's the way we kind of understand it. And so it's got this certain level that it has to reach. It has to be something you have to work at. It's kind of like some sort of job you have to do. And it's not something we are able to get too much more different. It's like we have to, but intentionally insist on doing it. And so that's how we then often understand Dharma practice. But actually, we're talking about really practicing. What is the point that it really comes in? What is the understanding we should have it? What is the point it comes to? And I've got a story to tell about that. No, I'm not going to tell too many stories. Now, I've used up most of my stories, but maybe there's a story that you've maybe already heard. I don't have like a huge number of stories. So when Atisha went to Tibet. He went from India. He went from India to Tibet. His birthplace was in Bangladesh, in the present-day Bangladesh. That's where he was born. In the end, he went to Tibet, and so where he passed away was in Tibet. So during the later spread of the teachings in Tibet, among all the panditas who went to Tibet during that time, he was the one who had the broadest influence and the greatest activity. And he had many students. And he had many students after he went to Tibet. And among them, there was one called Yogi, the Great Yogi. There were two. There's the Yogi and Great Yogi. And if you don't understand this, so Neldrpa or Neldrpa Chenpo, if you aren't able to, you have to distinguish them. You had one student called Yogi, and one called Great Yogi, and one called Great Yogi. And so Great Yogi was like his attendant. So the one who usually served Atisha was Great Yogi, or Neldrpa Chenpo. And so what he asked Atisha when Atisha was about to pass away, saying, Atisha, I'm going to pass, and after you've passed away, so then I'm going to practice the Dharma just as you have taught, and I'm only going to practice meditation. And he said, and so this is what he said to Atisha. Yeah, most gurus would say. And most gurus, if you said any guru, any lama, that I'm going to spend the rest of my life in meditating, everyone's going to get really happy and they're going to praise it. But Atisha didn't praise him for this. In addition, not only did he not praise him, what he said is, he said, if you go to meditate, are you actually is that going to be actually Dharma? Can that actually be Dharma? Can your doing meditation actually be Dharma? That's what he asked him. And so a great yogi, or Naljorpa Chenpo said is, oh, if that's the case, then if that can't become Dharma, then I better teach other people Dharma. I give Dharma teachings and spread the Dharma, teach the Dharma. And spread the teachings. How's it if I do that? And Atisha said, of course, if you teach Dharma, it's fine, but teaching Dharma, is that really going to become Dharma? Atisha asked him. And when he was asked this, then Naljorpa Chenpo, he got this brain started. He didn't know what he was going to do. And he said to Atisha, so what's the best thing for me to do? He said, what should I do that can actually be Dharma? What Atisha said to this was, he said, all of you, he's meant all of Atisha's students, that is, you should all follow Trungpa as your teacher. So Atisha was about to pass away, so he said to his students, okay, your teacher is going to be Geshe Trungpa. So Geshe Trungpa, this is Trungpa, right? Trungpa was not a monastic. He wasn't a monk. He was a lay person. He had the lay vows. But the great yogi was actually a bhikshu. So it's like, so Mitaja was saying that all of us as bhikshu, students who were bhikshus had to go study with this lay person, Geshe Trungpa. And what they thought was, how could this be? This kind of strange feeling. And the second thing he said was, you have to give up on this life. And this is the most important thing. Whether you're doing practice or not, whether it's Dharma or not, is have you given up on this life, or have you put this life out of mind? If you put this life out of your own mind, then whatever you do becomes practice. If you're unable to put this life out of your mind, then no matter what you do, it won't be Dharma. And so this is one story. Now the second story is, this is related to Trungpa. And so Trungpa, after Atisha passed away, then Trungpa went to the area of Rajing. So there's a place in Tibet called Rajing. And he founded a monastery, and this is called Rajing Monastery. And this is the earliest Kadampa monastery in Tibet. So he founded the Rajing Monastery, and while he was at Rajing Monastery, this monk came. So this monk came and he stayed at Rajing, and every day he'd go and he'd do kora. So he wouldn't go in Tibet with the monasteries. They have inside and the outside, and they have monasteries. There are many different ways to do. And you go on the outcourse, and so this is outside the external boundaries of the monastery. So did this the outer circumambulation. And so every day he was spending all his time walking around it. So one day Trungpa came, and so the monks so he met Trungpa while going on his corner. He met Trungpa, and when he met him, Trungpa said to him, I saw that this monk was circumambulating, and he said, it's really great that you're doing circumambulation, but I think it'd be better if you actually practiced true Dharma, real Dharma. This is what Trungpa said, right? And so what he thought is, he thought that doing circumambulation, that's Dharma, isn't it? A lot of people think that circumambulation is practicing. No, really isn't anyone who think that it's not Dharma. It's not a Dharma practice. Doing circumambulation is Dharma. But then Trungpa says, circumambulation is fine, but it's better to practice true Dharma. He thought, practicing Dharma is not really circumambulation. There's something else that's better than this. something that's more beneficial, he thought. And so he thought this way. Oh, it's probably better to prostrate, he thought. So I think it'd be good to go prostrate. He went they looked for a place inside the rotting buttocks, and he stayed there prostrating all day long. Like the way we do when we're doing the 100,000 prostrations, right? So he's prostrating in this way. And then one time, John Trumba came by where he was prostrating. He said, oh, your prostrating is really good. But wouldn't it be better to actually practice the Dharma? This person was like, oh, that's a little surprised. Isn't prostrating Dharma practice? So what can I do that's better than that? And so I think there must be thinking, maybe, now these probably just aren't Dharma at all. And maybe I'd better to study, read some of the great texts. And he'd go into the Rudering Monastery and he'd look for a place, and he so spend his time reading that. He was reading the words of the Buddha and the treatises. And so one day then Trungpa came, and I saw him sitting there reading the text. He's saying the same thing as before. Oh, reading the text is very good. But wouldn't it be better to actually really practice the Dharma? So his brain started to hurt. It's like, oh, I just don't get it. He's just like, couldn't get his head around it at all. This isn't Dharma, that's not Dharma, and this and that. What actually is Dharma practice? And he thought about this a lot, and then maybe I better just meditate. If that's not practicing Dharma, then there's nothing to practice. So I better spend it. If I sit here meditating, then there's no way he's going to say that that's not Dharma. And then so he sat there meditating, and once again Drumpa came by and he said, and so he thought, and Drumpa said, okay, Drumpa is, oh, you're really practicing Dharma well. He's saying Drumpa really hoping that Drumpa would say he's actually practicing the Dharma well. Drumpa came by and he said exactly the same as before. But he said, yeah, it's good that you're meditating. But wouldn't it be better if you were actually practicing the Dharma, like as if there was no point to practice meditation? And so at this point, he had no idea what he was supposed to do. What he thought was that practicing Dharma was, he'd done everything that he thought could be Dharma practice. He'd done everything that he thought might possibly be Dharma, and he'd done all of it, even though he'd still Drompa is saying these aren't Dharma practice. So you think there's some better Dharma practice than that? It's like his brain was exploding, and he had no idea what possibly to do. And he said, so he said, oh, whatever I'm doing here, said I should do some better practice. So please tell me what sort of Dharma I should practice. It's like he had no other choice. And so he said, basically saying, unless you tell me, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. And so the answer that Trungpa gave was, you need to put this life out of your mind. Put this life out of your mind. Put this life out of your mind. He said this 3 times. And do you understand the point? And it's not that whether you understand that, have you put this life out of mind? Have you forgotten about this life? Do you understand about it? What is the point of this? The main point is that Dharma practice is not this like external form of the perception. It's not like the form of prostrating or reading. The image of that is not important. The main thing, so when you're talking practice, what is important is your state of mind. When you're practicing, what is your state of your mind? How are you thinking? How are you understanding? That's the most important thing. If your way of thinking is correct, then no matter what you do, it can become practice. When you're prostrated, it'll become Dharma. When you're reading text and practicing. But if your state of mind isn't quite right there, then the mere external appearance of that, the pure way you're doing things, and you might think that you're prostrating or actually studying, but in actuality, it's not Dharma. And the reason why it can't become Dharma, that really comes down to it comes down to your mind. So in the ashram, it is. Does it, and actually, can it change your mind or not? Is it actually going to benefit your mind or not? As I said earlier, when we're reciting prayers, we can think about anything inside, right? Outside, we're saying Om Mani Padme Hum, and inside, we're thinking about something that we don't like. Oh, maybe it'd be better if they just die. Maybe they'll get sick tomorrow, and is it possible that we can think that? If you're thinking that in the inside, but we don't see what the other person is thinking. You look at the person and say, oh, how wonderful, I go for refuge. Sitting there only writing his head in Montessori, this is what we think, right? Perhaps. It's because the person who might be thinking, even though he's got all sorts of strange thoughts inside, but they think that they're practicing Dharma because they're reciting the Mani mantras. So if you're not, so this person thinks they're reciting it orally, but with inside, he's unable to actually think the same thing. So now actually, this isn't real Dharma practice. So this is what it's like. So that's enough. So now we will take the 30-minute break.
Nyabe semje tamje na joy ge wan joy sange nyeboy chebe go boy to brai jinge labdo sula na joy ge wan joy chebo dai dewa mebe choge nyu joy zai che ma nam kha dai nyabe semje tamje na joy ge wan joy sange nyeboy chebe go boy to brai jinge labdo sula na joy ge wan joy chebo dai dewa mebe choge nyu joy zai che ko je dorje chamne soy ge wan rebe dorje bardoy jibe kunjo sumboy de dai na joy ge wan joy sange dorje change kuro sawa lai choje shi rab jange sange dai chanjo sembo pawa kandroy chijo some sotai jibe kurwai dinge namge niso benza sama Cho za ye do Bye.
라소다 넘버링이 사마 세능돼 라소 다 당기 공시 당기 공시는 시네 지 최냐면 최근에 전에 제단으로 가르쳤나 또 소지 돈아지 삼로도 안 나서는 자도 지 셈기 내가 저 소소지 셈기 내가 삼로도 안 간지지 이미 들리지래 알아 라래 얼마도배 에너지 치기 넘겨로 잠다 아니 치기 남바점이야 아니 아주 이 최이 막 통성나 아니 디 야구용 말했어 기승 아주 이 최냐면 제사르지 치 남바점시다.
So practicing Dharma, if we understand as what Dharma just being an external thing, then that brings us a fault. And what the fault is that you're doing fine, your life is going well, and when you're feeling well, then you don't remember practicing Dharma. For example, for an ordinary person, a regular person, if like you find a new boyfriend or girlfriend, or you get an opportunity to go on a holiday someplace, or you get a pronation, you get a little bit more a higher position than you were before, a little bit more influence, or you get a new good job, or like have a New Year's holiday or something, everyone gathers you and celebrate and enjoy each other. And so in such times, in the times when we have good, excellent, happy times, we basically don't ever think about practicing the Dharma. So in the opposite situation, you have like really difficult times, like a really painful illness, or someone close to us passes away, or you lose your job. Or if you're having a breakup in a relationship or so forth, and you have some sort of great physical or mental suffering, then you don't really want to practice the Dharma. So at that time, what some people think is they just want to go crawl inside their houses and sit there crying the whole time, right? And some people just don't have much of an appetite, and some people, when they get really upset, then they just when they get depressed, they drink a lot or they smoke a lot of cigarettes. And brief, they do whatever they can to kind of get their suffering out and to free themselves from it. So basically, most people are really able to really face up to the suffering and hardship they have, and they're not able to accept it and face up to it. And so because of the suffering and hardship, then they lose their enthusiasm and they get exhausted. And so that's true. It's difficult to remember to practice Dharma, right? It's difficult to get the energy to practice the Dharma in such a situation. Sometimes it's like people feel like there's just absolutely nothing to do. There's no one to place their hopes in. And then that's at that point that they only then do they remember that they should pray to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. There's a saying about this in Chinese. It's like when there's nothing, to translate this into English, when there's nothing to be done, you cling to the Buddha's feet. You just grab onto the Buddha's feet. Normally, you don't remember the Buddha. When you get to a really desperate situation, you grasp the Buddha's feet and say, "It's you. You're going to protect me. That's what I'm going to. Whatever you do, I've got no other choice." It's like when they've run out of anything. It's run out of anything else to do, and it's like a lament that they say. Likewise, when they have difficulty, you recite mantras, you like pray. There's the things that you don't know. You don't do things that you normally do when you have difficulties. And you hope that the Buddhas will grant their power and blessing, and the Bodhisattvas will grant the power to remove all of your difficulties and free you of suffering. And so when people like feel like they're up against a wall and there's nothing to burn, they'll do anything, divinations, astrology, whatever. There's nothing that they'll do. When there's nothing that they think, oh, maybe this will help and maybe that will help. It's like they have nothing else to do. And so what people something to do is that when they're experiencing some sort of difficulty or suffering, they go to the internet or they look for a book and they say, oh, maybe there's something that Buddha said, and they'll read that in order to give themselves relief. And so in English, we talk about chicken soup. It's like a chicken soup for the soul, they say. And they use the Buddha's word as some sort of chicken soup to make them feel better. So basically, when you're having this sort of hard time and sorrow, then if you do a little bit of practice and you get a little bit, they get the hope that doing some practice will make things a little bit better, make them feel a little bit better and relaxed. But then one day, when their life gets a little bit better and they're not suffering so much anymore, and they do have a little bit of time to practice, but do they practice Dharma? No, it's not certain they're going to. So what they say then is, they say, okay, I'm going to start practicing Dharma on a day that's really astrologically different, auspicious. And so they put it off to some day when it's like a really auspicious day astrological. Or maybe they think, okay, today I'm a little tired. I think I'm going to rest a bit. I'll start tomorrow. And so they have many excuses. And in the end, what happens is they're unable to practice the Dharma. There's also a really famous Indian poem that it's, what it says in the poem is, there's a tomorrow after tomorrow. There's never an end to tomorrows. If you wait till tomorrow and wait, all of your actions will fail. I always say tomorrow, tomorrow. There's no end to tomorrows. So you're always waiting for tomorrow, then you're going to waste your entire life. You won't do anything you'll never get anything done in your life. And so, as I said before, when you talk about Dharma, it's not just an external appearance, and not just an external, doing some sort of external form. That's not real. That's not really a Dharma. That's not actually what we mean by practicing the Dharma. So, When you say practicing the Dharma, actually the way you practice Dharma, as it says in the stories I told earlier, it depends upon your state of mind and the way you think. It's something that Atisha said, and Chondaba said. It means you have to forget about this life, or give up on this life. It's difficult to say to give up on this life, but when we're saying giving up this life, what it means is that when we're practicing the Dharma, whether the Dharma actually becomes Dharma or not depends upon what is our way of thinking at the time of the time that we're practicing Dharma. It depends upon our state of mind. So it depends on the state of mind. So this is what we say, state of mind and actions. This is really important. So now we'll speak about the second point. So the second point is what practicing Dharma really means. So when we say practicing Dharma, what does that really actually mean? The first thing we have to understand is that practicing Dharma is not like just trying to make yourself feel better or to inspire yourself. If you think it's that, that's not right. It's not like, as I said before, like when you get a little bit discouraged, or when you're having difficulties, if you read a few of the Buddha's words. And if it's it's not like kind of some sort of like a chicken soup or medicine that's going to make you feel better. And at one point, there's nothing wrong with it, but if you understand that practicing Dharma is if you only understand that as being practicing Dharma, that's not it. Basically, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are not like some fast-acting meditation for him. It's like when you have an emergency, and you call the emergency services, right? When you call them, they immediately come, and for 5 or 6 minutes they come and they do critical response care for them at that point. But the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas aren't like emergency doctors. You know, if you don't ordinarily pray to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, when you get to in a bad situation, all of us, and say, oh, please, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, come. I'm asking you to come. Please come. Please bless me. Please show yourself to me now. As if you think of them as being like emergency doctors or emergency medical technicians who are going to come and help you. That's not how it is. It's practicing Dharma. It's not like some sort of a ritual or if you think that the practicing Dharma is just some sort of ritual or tradition, then that's not all. Nor is it sort of a responsibility or some things that you have to. It's like if your boss gives you a job that you have to do, and even if you don't want to do it, it's like your job and you have to do it. It's like a job. It's like your job and your responsibility, so you have to do it. So if you see Dharma as being some sort of like responsibility or job that you can't get out of, that's not right. Like it's like the Tibetans. It's like when you're on the open plain singing tra-la-la, and when there's no way out, you play to Guru Rinpoche. That's not right. For you, it's like when you're in a nice open plain, you're singing tra-la-la all the time, and you get to the really scary, tight path, and say, Maham Ganza Guru Pem, and then remembering Guru Rinpoche at that time. That's not the right way to do it. Actually, if you want to practice the Dharma, if you really want to practice the Dharma, you first have to understand what is the way to practice Dharma. Now, the other day, I've already spoken a lot about the ways to practice Dharma, so I don't need to say much about it more. But the main point that we need to know is that practicing the Dharma is not something that you do in some little shrine or sitting on a cushion. That's not what you should think of it as. Practicing the Dharma is something you should do all the time, day and night, 24 hours a day. And it is something that should be able to change your mind and be able to improve your mind. That's what we mean to practice. And we should understand practice as meaning this. For example, when we first enter the gate of the Dharma, when we first become Buddhists, we have to go for refuge. And when you're asking for refuge, so what should you think when you're going for refuge? What is the reason for you to become a Dharma practitioner? It's really important for us to know this. Now, in the Tibetan and Himalayan, the Tibetan peoples, because all of our parents and ancestors have done, we just basically follow the tradition. My parents, my grandparents all practice Dharma, so I'm going to do it. And so we don't really know how to think about the reasons or the purposes for doing it ourselves. And so we need to actually study a little bit. We need to understand it. We've already gone for refuge, but for now, and to think, what was the reason for going for refuge? What are the purpose for it? What are the reasons and purposes for being a Dharma practitioner? We have to think about this. So generally, everyone has their own reasons why they need to become Buddhist and go for refuge. They can probably have their reasons they can say, but basically the main aim and the greatest hope for all of us should be the same, and that should be is to take the Bhagavan Buddha as an example. Think to ourselves, someday maybe someone like him who has realized the true nature. And this should be our primary aim and our greatest hope. I think that is what is like. And so in order to accomplish that aim, what do we need to do first? We need to become someone who is a better person than we were before. First, we have to become a better person, and then gradually become a good Dharma practitioner. And then you need to become a bodhisattva, and then you need to become a Buddha. If you don't become a good person, if you want to become a Buddha before you become Buddha, it's a little bit audacious to say that you're going to become a Buddha first. So first, you have to become an even better person than you were before, right? And then you have to be someone who's able to become even better, able to help yourself and others than you were before. In order to become someone who's better than we were before, and so can help themselves better and help others better. How do we do that? That can happen because of the true Dharma, because the true Dharma is the method for doing this. It is the way to do it. So for that reason, we need to study the true Dharma. And once we've been studied it, we need to actually put it into practice and be able to actually practice the Dharma. And then once we're able to do that, then naturally you're going to become, we can become a better person. Not only that, you won't be such a dolt as you were before. You become someone who knows how to think and use your intelligence. And the reason for this is the true Dharma. Who taught the Dharma? It was the Buddha Bhagavan. And the Bhagavan Buddha was someone who had the prajna that realized the true nature, because he had that. Because he had that experience of realizing the nature as is, and that's what that is the true Dharma. And so it's Dharma that is connected with prajna or related to prajna. And so if we study that, then we can become someone who knows how to think and who can understand. So actually, we need something that we can actually practice and we can study and actually practice. If we actually put it to practice, then we can put effort into it and to have a good result. It's 100% certain that this can happen. And we don't need to have any doubt about that. So for that reason, the Dharma, we need to be able to practice the Dharma properly. And if we can get ourselves like really definite and certain, then, and if we're assiduous about it, then we can become better people and improve ourselves. We can become someone who can think about things and use our intelligence. So we can become like that, and we can also become happier and become more comfortable. And so for that reason, the main point is, as I said before, the main point is that it depends upon mind. And so we need to be able to control our mind and direct our mind. We need to be able to bring it back in. And we need to be able to take care of it. When you practice, if you feel like you're really, if you're not someone, if you don't do anything to take care of your mind and just sit on the Dhamma and don't have any particular feeling, but instead you just become more and more rigid. If you understand Dharma practices that is not how we should understand it. Actually, when we talk about practicing Dharma, there's no reason to become rigid or become very intractable or rigid. Practicing the Dharma is something that should be able to be flexible and change according to the time and the situation for one. And likewise, there should also be something that's connected with our daily life. And it has to have a practice that has to be a practice connected with the actual nature of the world. Likewise, when we're practicing the Dharma, there's something that can bring us infinite benefits. For example, like if we have a big, like a treasure chest, and inside that, if you get to, no matter how many jewels you took out of it, there's no end to the jewels. What that treasure chest is like our Dharma practice. And so this is a really important point for us to understand. And so then the next point is the third point. The best opportunities for practice are when things are going well or badly. No matter who we are, we have times when things go well and when things are going badly. This happens in our life. It's not like everything is always good. It's not like everything is always bad. Within our lifetime, when we have all these times, there's good times and bad times, they change it. Let's even think about it for a single day. In the morning, you can be not so happy, and in the evening, you're feeling great. In the morning, you're depressed. In the evening, you're happy. Many things happen like this. And someone like if you have someone who is like wins the lottery, right? Or they get a promotion and they become really powerful. When at the point when that happens, their mind can get really arrogant and they're proud and they think, oh, I'm really something. We have a Tibetan saying, the sky is a scarf and the clouds their headband. It's like they get really proud and haughty and they just look down on everything. Or else their greed increases and they lose any carefulness or self-control of being able to keep their discipline. So there's many such faults can occur. There was once a famous American president named Abraham Lincoln. When he was giving a talk, and what he said was, if you want to test a person's character, if you need to test that and want to find out what the character is, you have to give them power. If you give them power, then you can understand what that person is like. This is what he said. It's similar. When someone's more and more power, and they get a larger area that is able to take care of, they get more resources and more power and more, they know more and more people, then at that point, that many of those person's faults began to happen. It's like they begin to see all of their faults. But if we think about it from the perspective of someone who's practicing the Dharma, If you talk about somebody, when things are going well and everything's being excellent in your life, then this is actually an excellent opportunity to practice the Dharma. And if you have a bad time when everything's going wrong, that's also a great opportunity to practice the Dharma. And the reason why we say it's a great opportunity is talking about the good aspects here. If we talk about it in terms of extra things, if you all of a sudden become very wealthy, and you get a lot of connections with people, then what you can do, if you're a Dharma practitioner, it's an opportunity. The reason is because the more wealth you have, the more connections you have with people, the more opportunities you have to be generous. Not only that, in terms of when you're generous with the Dharma, then you have more opportunities to give the Dharma. For example, in ancient India, there was the Emperor Ashoka, right? There was the Emperor Ashoka who had great faith in Buddhism. So he was a historical figure, and he had the power of the king, and he used his power as a great emperor to spread the Dharma throughout all of India. And not just in the country of India, but also in all, he spread the Dharma in neighboring countries. And he even spread the Dharma as far away as Greece. And so basically, he used his position, power, and fame to be he put them to use and used them to be generous with the Dharma. So right now, can we do what Ashoka did? We can't do that. But within terms of our monasteries, within our own small societies, we can use our wealth, our names, and to make new plans and new methods and do various things to help people and do many good things. There are many good things we can do. So if you have some influence and some good name, if you have acquaintances, you can. If there's something you can use it. This is in terms of external things. Now, to think about it in terms of our external mind. When you get a status or a wealth and so forth, what we need to do at that point is actually to turn our attention inward. We need to check ourselves, look very deeply inside ourselves. We need to check ourselves even better before. We need to look even better at what our own faults are. The reason for this is at the time when we're getting status and wealth and power and so forth, there's the danger that many faults that will develop many problems. Are we going to get more proud? So you have to look at yourself over and again. See, are you getting more and more proud or not? Are you getting more arrogant of thinking I'm really something? Are you getting more arrogant like that? You have to look. You're getting careless. You have to look. You have to ask yourself in your mind, do you still have even more desire to have even a higher status or more power? You have to ask yourself, do you have the power for higher status, the wish for higher status? Do you have the desire for more power? And no matter how much wealth you have, is your greed for even more growing stronger and stronger? Stronger and stronger. You have to ask yourself. So in brief, at the times when everything is going well and everything is flourishing for you, you absolutely must examine yourself and so forth. This is the best opportunity to do so. And so for that reason, we need to examine ourselves even better before, with even greater interest and even greater scrutiny than before. Now, when we talk about things going well, we think it doesn't necessarily only mean becoming powerful or wealthy or whatever. For ordinary people who don't have a lot of power and wealth, but when their lives are going pretty well, and they're feeling pretty good about their lives, we should not let ourselves become overcome by carelessness and laziness. And at that point, we need to practice the Dharma. So how is it that we should practice the Dharma at that point? For example, when you're like enjoying yourself and having a good time, your life is going pretty well, then at that point, you absolutely must think about impermanence. And when you think about impermanence, And we can't just stay there completely deluded in our happiness and excitement. And the reason for that is that the happiness that we have now is going to die, and the things that we like now are going to change. And the day that happens, if we're not mentally prepared, then it's like the heaven and earth are turned upside down, and we'll have no idea what we're supposed to do. For example, I have the coronavirus epidemic. Because of this epidemic, the many developed Western countries have very good lifestyle. What's happened is for people live a very, very nice, comfortable lives. They spend their lives. And all of a sudden, the coronavirus comes and when it shows up, it's just like they couldn't conceive. They have no idea what to do. They don't know what to do. And when they do that, then all of a sudden this epidemic comes. They don't have any preparation. They don't have any plans. So they give them very difficult times. Then forget about anything else. Look how difficult it is even to just get people to wear masks. Asian peoples, there are a lot of people in Asia who wear the mask all the time. But in the West, no one is doing this. So you say, so you have to wear masks. It's like people get very tired and get very upset about it. So even getting people to wear masks is difficult. So we have no plans that some coronavirus epidemic is going to happen. We're not ready for it. And the reason for that is that is because we never thought about what's taught in the Dharma, that everything is impermanent, is going to change. And because we have not thought about this, then we have no plans at all. But it's possible that we might misunderstand this. We might, if you think, I'm not saying that you must not have any fun, you must not enjoy this. We should do that. So you should enjoy yourself. You should have some fun. We aren't practicing the Dharma to give ourselves a hard time. We aren't practicing this in order to not have any enjoyment in our life. But it is important to maintain our mindfulness and awareness as we have good times. And the reason for this is that the feelings of joy and the feelings of happiness are not permanent and unchanging. They will change. Because they change, then you need to understand that. And you need to be able to prepare it. And then at one time, someday when it happens, then it's not going to be a great surprise to you. If you haven't prepared at all, and all of a sudden it changes, then you're going to have difficulties that you'd never thought of before. And so in between of when things are going well and things are going bad, it's in terms of the situation how we should think when we have times when things go well. And I think in terms of how we should think about things when they're going badly, I think I'll probably speak about that in the next teaching. Now, as I said before, generally, I'm going to teach until the 21st good deed. Then we have 3 more stanzas to go through. And after these 3 stanzas, then we'll complete this year's spring teachings. But among that, but I have a few things that I'd like to say about other things that are related to those. And so I'd like to take this opportunity now. I'm not going to speak about it now, but I'll think about it the day after tomorrow, day after tomorrow, or the day after that, perhaps. One thing I'd like to speak about is MIKYÖ Dorje's main stupa was the 5th Shama Rinpoche, the Shama Kuntrut Yinlak. And at the time when they were recognizing the 5th Shama Kuntrut Yinlak, there was a big problem that happened, a controversy, because there were 2 candidates who were said to be the reincarnation of the 4th Shama Rinpoche. And so there are sort of 2 camps in the Karma Kamsa. And similar to what happened as has been happening these days, this also happened at the time of MIKYÖ DORJE. So there's this big controversy at the time of MIKYÖ DORJE about that. And I think that most people don't really know a whole lot about this topic. And so I thought I should speak a little bit about this situation. And primarily, how was it that MIKYÖ DORJE recognized the fifth Shamar Kunja Inlek, and what effort he put into what problems he had? So I thought I ought to speak about that topic. And so that's one point. There is another. There are these other events connected to MIKYÖ DORJE that I should speak about. So I think that's probably enough for today. We'll leave it here today. So thank you. Please recite the dedication prayers.
인도니 제